some of you don't know me, a friend of Mike's. My name is Beth Brown, and I've worked with Mike for 28 years. Been a friend of the family, and it's my honor to celebrate Sidney and Patricia's life with them. We're going to hear some stories, we're going to say some prayers, and get on with that. So Sidney Tibble was born on June 15th, 1934. He passed away on November 7th, 2021. Patricia Wolston Tibble was born on April 22nd, 1933, and passed away on July 12th, 2020. Our thoughts are with the family, their sons David, Andrew, James, and Michael, as well as 9 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. I'd also like to mention that we're going to record this ceremony, just so everyone knows. And with that, go in prayer with me. Father, we give you thanks for the lives of Sidney and Patricia, whose generous love and light touched many lives. They were gifts that make this world a better place. Their love and commitment to each other endured many trials over the years, and is a testament to their strength and your grace, which blessed them in their marriage. We ask for your presence today, blessing all that are mourning, so that they may feel your love and be comforted. May they be blessed with peace and joy in the days ahead. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now we have a reading, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Sidney's remembered for his devotion as a husband, father, and granddad, as well as for his life's work in sales, and as an entrepreneur when he immigrated into the U.S. He's also remembered for his kindness. Sidney liked spending time with his family and loved to play chess, as long as he was winning, a testament to his competitive spirit. But at the end of the day, spending time with the loved ones was the real win. Sidney was immensely proud of his sons, his grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He also loved animals and enjoyed their devoted companionship. Patricia is remembered for her devotion as a wife, mother, and Nana, as well as for her tireless work and service to the elderly. Patricia, like Sidney, also became an entrepreneur when she immigrated with her family to the U.S. Patricia embraced the American dream and became a business owner of 2 assisted living facilities that were very successful. Patricia is remembered for her gentle, loving spirit. Cooking and baking were her favorite pastimes. It was her way of showing love for her family, especially her sons. Patricia was immensely proud of her sons, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. One could say they were the greatest joys of her life. So I had the pleasure of meeting Sidney and Patricia. I never would call them as Mr. and Mrs. Tibble, so they would come to the office once in a while and visit with Mike. And I could just see how it gave them so much joy to come see their son at the office. They were very proud of him. I feel like they probably were very proud of all their sons, their grandchildren, their families. You could just see that in their countenance, their smiles. And they were very proud. I think I see that in these sons as they emulate their parent spirit, their love, their respect, and their strong family values. So now we'll hear from Mike, and then Jim and Andy, and if anyone would like to say a few words afterward, you'll have an opportunity.
So, I guess before it starts, these things kind of get lost. I wanted to thank Beth for her fantastic questions during preparing for this event. And one thing, Sarah, in particular, she's been fantastic. Sarah, you've been a rock. It's been really great to lean on you and all your help putting this together. So, I had a friend recently who said to me that although he had lost his father a number of years ago, he will occasionally, without warning, still feel this, uphill of emotion of that loss, it still feels like it happened yesterday. You have to forgive me. I mean, we're only a couple of months out from losing Dad, and anyway, I'll keep it short. I don't want to go on too long, but I did want to share this one story with you. So, as much as they touched everybody here, it's always shocking to me, how many people they did know, and people I've never met who loved them so much. They were kind of a mystery to me. I just, I didn't really understand them very well. I once asked, I'll give you an example. So I asked my dad, why did you marry Mom? I didn't ask that in a condescending way or anything like that. I was just curious, I don't remember where I was in my life at that time, but I was probably young and, trying to just understand love. And so his response to me was, that one night he said, I just thought it was time. And she had really good calves. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. So I will say that, I heard that from my dad, and Dan was pretty close. He was, he didn't really talk about emotions really at all. I think I was a grown-up before Dad told me he actually loved me. I know that he did love me, but actually saying that word was very hard for him. But when I asked the same question of my mother, her response was quite different. She said, she told me, well, I was amazed because Dad was a real catch. Like within the office, he was recognized as, being very handsome. He was tall, you guys don't know my dad, but he was pushing 6 feet, so very thin, and he was successful, and he was doing well at his job. And and you can kind of see it if you take the time after we finished here. If you look at the pictures of my mother in the wedding photos, they're both very happy, but there's just a couple where, she's looking at someone out in the crowd saying, yeah. Like I say, I don't really want to go on too long. There were a lot of very difficult times for them, particularly when we immigrated to the United States. That was a very turbulent time in their marriage. I won't go into those details. You can ask me about it afterwards, but I never doubted that they loved me, that they loved my brothers, you'll miss it.
You have been wrong for years. So I'm going to take us back as still recall and stick with me. So when we lived in Basildon, I lived in Basildon till I was 6 years old, I think it was, when we moved to Wickford. When we lived in Basildon, Mum sometimes worked at the vegetable stand in the market. I think it was only on holidays when they were really busy and they needed the extra help. I just have this vision of I'm standing on the customer side of the vegetable stand, and Mom's on the other side, and she's packing up vegetables for people. And she looked over at me and just gave this big, beaming smile. And Mom had an amazing smile. That just, light up the room. And I can see that clearly, that me being on this side, and I'm looking up this slope of vegetables. It's like a huge vegetable stand, and I'm like 5'8", right? So I'm looking up this huge slope of vegetables. And there's Mom on the other side, just beaming happy, just having a good time. So that one stuck with me. Mom knew how to swim. Dad, don't even get me wet. Don't get me near water. Mom taught us all how to swim. We were so lucky in Basildon. They built an Olympic-sized swimming pool with the full diving boards and everything, literally, across the street from us almost. We could easily walk to it, and Mom taught us all how to swim there. It was just amazing. And then my brothers taught me how to jump off the 10-meter board by pushing me off, basically. Come on, you can do it! Doink! Yeah, so just a couple things about Mom. Dad had a component stereo system in the 1960s when everybody else's stereo looked like a big piece of furniture. Like it was you had this big piece of furniture that had a big lid, and there was a record player in there, and maybe a radio. Dad had a Rogers amplifier and an AM/FM receiver and separate speakers and a separate turntable. This is in the late 60s or 70s, and nobody had that. And he would just, play his music, play his jazz, and that love of music, I think, stuck with all of us, and it has never stopped for me. The food. Mom was an unbelievable cook, and simple stuff. The rock cakes, the whippersnappers. The bread pudding was a food group of its own. I have never tasted or even smelled bread pudding that was anywhere close to whatever that was, and I don't know how she made it, but I would love to have that recipe. But and apple pie and custard, and just that kind of stuff was just incredible and amazing. And going to Southend-on-Sea, which we considered the beach, was really the bank of the Thames River. You really went in the sea. And Dad would get cockles and winkles from this little tiny food stand, food cart basically. And they were fresh right from the river. Cockles, I think, are clams, and winkles are like snails. Well, that experience just took away any intimidation I had for eating any kind of seafood. So if it comes from a lake or a river or the ocean, I eat it. But those little tiny snails, these snails were this big, and Dad would have his little tiny toothpick and go and pull you out a little tiny snail that you could eat. And so I think from that I gained my love of seafood, which Melanie will tell you about. It's constantly, she's looking for the steak and I'm just looking for the seafood. So, and then obviously I won't go on and on here, but then obviously the move to America. I remember driving away from the house in Whitford and being in that car. I'm thinking we're never coming back. But not really realizing it for a whole another year. But what an amazing move it was, and how brave Mum and Dad were for doing that. And we're all here in these families are here because of that bravery. Yeah. What a move. Opened up opportunities, obviously, for all of us, and we're here because of that. Dad never told me he loved me until I think he was 60. But he did eventually. And then he broke that barrier and he said it all the time.
You're right.
Mom was a whole other way, and the love just exuded out all the time. All right, that's it. Those are some of my amazing memories, and thanks for coming, everybody.
I was going to prepare some remarks, and I realized that if I did, I'd probably be just scratching everything off the list as I went, because not going to cover some of that. That's quite something to follow. But I will tell a couple of stories. I'll just do that thing, particularly regarding just. It's hard to imagine the changes that have gone in our lifetime, right? The story of my birth is, Mom and Dad living in a little 2-bedroom, walk-up apartment in London, flat, no telephone. When Mom went into labor, my dad had to run down the street to the little red coal box and put money in and coal. And then it's pouring with rain apparently, and the midwife was summoned to the apartment, and she got there just in time, a little late really, because she was riding a bike. It was low
In the rain.
in the rain, and apparently she had just enough time to whip the cloak off to use to catch me. That's the story.
Wow.
But what a different time. And my older brother Dave, who's unfortunately not here, was born 15 months ahead of me. So now there's 2 babies essentially in a 2-bedroom flat. There's not a dryer. It's hard to imagine that you could work with that as a mother without a way to dry clothes. Remember, there's no Pampers. There's no any of that stuff. My mom did it all for hand. Day after day after day. And you would have heard. She never gave us anything but love, essentially. Just amazing. I mean, it was, the kind of love that came at the market store when she smiled, and it was also the kind that came with a smack across your buttocks because you weren't behaving the way that you were supposed to behave. Pretty amazing stuff. And that went on. And of course, we had 2 more children come along, and she's still doing that every day. I'm just going to correct Jim's story a level because. Yeah, she occasionally worked the vegetable store in the market. She also worked the baby clothes store. And she did that twice a week for years. And I know that because I used to, when we were off school sometimes, we had to walk up to the market with her and I had to hang out there for 3 or 4 hours while the market was done, which was great fun, really, if you were, at the age that we were at. So, pretty incredible stuff. And then on top of that, Jim mentioned food and just, every day, cooking, no restaurants, right? It was just a different world. We never, I think when we maybe went out to eat once or twice a year, maybe. So everything else was done at home. While my mom was doing this, which was just, the most incredible full-time job you can imagine, Dad was out driving around London in a little broken down Austin selling bird's eye frozen food to little mom and pop grocery stores around, trying to get them to do that whole thing. Eventually went on to work at a bakery and was quite successful as a sales manager at a bakery. So I remember from my dad, this is, again, that sometimes when I got up in the morning, I'd see him there with the little shoe thing that you had, that had a little door inside that with brushes and the shoe black and all the rest of it. And he'd be like polishing his shoes before he went to work in the morning, which is usually before we left the school. And then at night, I would hear his leather shoes with those metal tips on the heels and the toes. Click, 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 click. And I'd be like, oh, Dad's coming home. And then we would get to visit with him. But every day, gone all day doing that. And yeah. So I think, it's something that you don't really realize in a way why you work so hard or you do the things that you do. It sort of just permeates through you and you just, you live that, and that becomes just your kind of values and so forth. So, I'll just finish with another piece because again, Jim kind of jogged my memory. I remember the drive to the airport when the family packed up and moved to America, which was, for my mom, if you can imagine that life, as much as she was great at it, the idea of coming to America, washing machine, driving, no, she was just like, yeah, me too, America. But my dad, it was like, he was walking away from a job that was sort of maybe going to come to an end anyway. It wasn't really, it was not a good time economically in the UK. And so, but the step into the unknown, when I think he was in his early 40s, I can't even really imagine just packing up and going on a completely other country at that point in life. I'm trying to think now. I think that was 78.
Yeah.
I was, I think, 18 going on 19. So, as that car was driving away, I was like, yes! Freedom! At last! Nobody is going to be looking over my shoulder anymore. So that was kind of an interesting kind of difference in emotion. So, but I came to the States a couple of years later. So I'll leave it with that. I think that's enough. Gives you a good sense of who they were. And there's a lot more stories, but check in later. Good. All right. Did anybody else want to say a few words? Because we'd love to hear from anybody who has a reminiscence or a story.
So I just wanted to share that one of the things that I remember the most about Nan is her hands. I just remember them always being so soft, and like obviously she dealt with arthritis pretty badly in her later years, but like even though her hands were really knobbly, I just always remember being like just super obsessed with her hands for whatever reason. And like watching her cook and watching her bake and just use her hands a lot, I always just, I don't know, something that just reminds me about her is just seeing old people with like old hands, like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of weird, but like, that's just one of my main memories of her. And then for Granddad, the thing that I associate closest with him is his garden in Green Coast Springs. Like, he just spent so much time on that garden. And I wish I had like taken more pictures when I was like 12, so like I didn't really have the foresight. But I just know that they are both such hardworking people, and I'm very grateful to be part of their family and to have the space here to honor their lives and their children, their children's children. Yeah, that's it.
Sure.
Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share?
I also would like to share something.
Here, you go first.
So, my favorite memory of Pat and Sid was when Mike and I were still dating and they lived in Melbourne. And they were getting ready to go on a trip to England for 5 weeks or whatever. And for some reason, it was decided that he would drive his truck back to Orlando to there and then leave it at his apartment, and then we would all go in the Taurus. I think it was a Taurus wagon, a red wagon or something. And I was gonna drive that back. So I'm all of like 20, and it was nighttime, driving on 95 south, north, getting off at like Highway 50 or whatever, headed to the airport, and I'm really used to driving stick and 5 speed and using 2 feet when I drive all the time. And then Sid was in the front, I was in the back, and all the luggage was in the cargo area. And Mike and Craig was ahead of us on the road, and I forgot I wasn't driving a 5-speed car. So when I went to put in the clutch, she pushed all the way to the floor. I put my foot on the brake all the way to the floor, getting off. And never again did Sid ride in the car with me without holding on to the dashboard. But what it really showed me about them was that they really did love me and brought me into the family, because they forgave me that I nearly killed them. And it always just spoke to me that, you know, even though I made this horrible mistake in front of, you know, my boyfriend's parents, that I wasn't sure, you know, I had enough known of them a couple times that they still cared about people in general, and that they had a lot of love to share, like the guys have said, and that they're just there for you. And Allie, you spoke sparked a memory for me with Nana's hands too. She might not know this, but she had worn away all of her fingerprints because of somehow. What's that? Genetic, yeah. So really confused the government when she became a citizen. She didn't have any fingerprints, but that was part of the smoothness. And they were always great, wonderful grandparents, and good to their sons, and accepting to everyone, and that always meant a lot. I didn't prepare anything, but so I'm Alex, Nan and Granddad. They were my grandparents. Andy's my dad. So I live in New Mexico, and I had, me and my brother had a really unique experience of getting to have both sets of our grandparents living very close by, and Nan and Granddad lived just a couple blocks away, which was a lot of fun growing up, and I have so many beautiful memories of both my grandparents. But when I think of Nana or Pat, I think of the years we spent building and painting a dollhouse together that I still own, and I can't wait to redo it someday, because I just have so many special memories of so many trips to Michael's, looking for the perfect little pieces of wood to glue together to create couches and beds for my Barbie dolls to live in that house together. I also have so many beautiful memories of all of the cousins coming out every single summer, and
every single night that we were in that sunroom, and Nana would come down the hall and be like, "It is 9 o'clock at night. You guys need to go to bed." And we're being so quiet, Emily and I. We were like little mice, so quiet. But anything would wake up Nana. She was definitely an insomniac, and that went into adulthood, coming and visiting them here in Florida as well. But I also just have had a lot of opportunity to reflect on her over the last few years. She taught me a lot of what I know about how to cook, bake. One of my favorite memories was, I don't remember where we were going, but we were stuck in traffic on the road, and I'll never forget Nana getting out of the car to hand deliver a bag of rock cakes to our car so that we would have something to eat on the drive. And, you know, she was always thought about everyone else other than herself, and that's something that, you know, I take into my life as well. And I was very grateful to be there with her during the last few months of her life. She was living in Albuquerque with us, and you know, obviously those were very hard times, watching her, you know, not really know who people were, where she was, what was going on. But you know, I have special memories of her during that time of feeding the dogs food off of the fork and putting her plate down on the ground, and no matter how many times you told her the dogs were being fed, she was always trying to feed them too. And you know, thinking back on Granddad, lots of memories of him when I was a kid, playing dress up. He would give us piggyback rides around the house. And one of my favorite things to look back on was the many times he wanted desperately to take me to the park to fly his kites. And I swear, it didn't matter how much time he spent working on those kites, they were always broken every single time. And he couldn't just take a different kite, he had to fix the kite that he wanted to fly that day. And I remember as a kid just being like, Nana, I just want to go to the park, I don't care about the kites. And she was like, that's just who he is. And that rings true. And he would eventually fix it, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. If you've never been to New Mexico, we have great wind there, so he loved flying his kites at the park. But, you know, even into his final years, you know, when he was living with us in Albuquerque before Nana died, and after she died, you know, even though he wasn't up to a whole lot, and he spent a lot of time sitting on the couch, when I was living at home, my cat was living with us too, and despite the fact that he couldn't see, he always recognized her when she came into the room, and he loved that cat. And he would just be like, oh, I see a little white fluff ball coming in, you know, and there wouldn't be much else to talk about, but he liked sitting with her and petting her. And yeah, I'm very thankful for you, Mike, for putting this all together, giving us all the opportunity to come together and just pay our respects. It's obviously been a few years since Nana died, but brings up all the feels, so thank you for letting me share.
Well, I'm awkward. So my name's Neosha, and I live next door to Miss Pat, Mr. Sid, and Scooby, and Grinko for 4 years. And they were Miss Pat's my best friend. She taught me so much about life in general in that short time. I was pregnant with my youngest son at the time, and after I had him, I had really bad postpartum depression. And I tell you what, she took care of my entire family that entire time I went through that. She brought us dinner. She came in and made sure the baby was taken care of. She checked on us. She would straighten up the house. I mean, everything. She did everything for me in that time frame. And she left such a lasting impression on me. I've never met someone like her. I never have, and I never will. every day, and she would make me tea, and I would sit on the floor like a little kid, sit on the floor, crisscross applesauce, and they would just tell me stories of the bliss. And you guys, I know all of you guys. You might not know me, I know you. And she just loved you guys so much. And she taught me how to sew and how to bake and how to make chicken and dumplings and apple pie. And just so much. She was so amazing. My kids for the longest called the backyard the back garden. Okay, yeah, it was the back garden. And Mr. Sid would show the kids how to make flowers, how to plant them, how to grow them. Every time they grew an orange in their tree, they would let them pick the first orange. They were just so wholesome and so lovely. She would leave notes on my door, inviting me for tea. I have those notes. She was amazing. They were amazing. Mr. Sid would blow his little train horn, whistle for the kids, and just the kite shop and all of the stories. They definitely left an impression on me and my kids and life. And I have a tattoo dedicated to her. I'll show you guys later. But yeah, I'm so happy that you guys invited me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for those lovely stories, everyone. They're just so touching. And it is a testament to how much they were loved and how much like parents were. And we can extend that to everyone else through our hearts.
Yeah. Just briefly, Nanny and Brandon were really frequent supporters and attendees of all my concerts and whatnot, and both of these gentlemen were a part of that at some point. Langston, perhaps a bit more, being a lifelong friend of Sarah and I, being at birthday parties and Halloween parties and all that stuff. So this is pretty cool. We haven't played together in 6 or 7 years, but yeah, it's fitting that we were playing together. So we have two songs to play. So yeah,
stories, and we're getting a couple hundred today.